So since you clicked on this video, I'm sure you're wondering, what is Ashes of Creation and why is there so much hype? Let's get into it. Hey everyone, Jim here. Today we're going over Ashes of Creation and why it is such a big deal to the gaming industry. Intrepid, the creators of Ashes of Creation, they are coming out with a lot of ideas for this game. A lot of things that we've seen in other MMOs and things that are pretty new. There's going to be different kinds of nodes, and the towns will vary based on one of the 4 different types, and that's what we're going over today. These nodes are essentially territories, and inside each one of these nodes there will be a town, but you don't know where the town is going to be at the start of the game. So how it works, you're going to make your character, you're going to get dropped off in one of the multiple different areas, and from you doing quests, killing creatures, gathering resources, whatever it is that you decide, there will be a certain amount of experience that gets contributed to that node itself. And over the course of a little bit of time, you could be walking through an area and notice that there's now some NPCs here, or maybe a few tents, a bonfire, and that's where the central town is going to be for that node. So you continue to gather resources, kill some creatures, do whatever it is, leveling up. And eventually it now turns into a small village. And from the small village, it starts to evolve even more, all the way up to a metropolis. And then once we actually get to the metropolis state, new world bosses start to appear. So let's say, for instance, you make the metropolis in a mountain region. You're going to now start to see dragons appearing for world bosses. You have it in the plains. You may come across a giant saber-toothed tiger. Maybe in a forest you could find a giant gorilla. We could find maybe a big old unicorn. Who knows what we're going to find, really. So we talked a little bit about the progression of the node. Now let's go over the different types of nodes. First up, we have Divine. The Divine node tends to be more about faith and skill or equipment augment focused. So it's more like, I guess you could see it more church-like. And inside each of these nodes, you're actually able to become like mayor or the ruler of this node for a certain amount of time frame. And inside each of these nodes, they all have different requirements in order to ascend to the mayor or the king or whatever it is. For the divine node, it is you have to do like the most amount of questing for the NPCs or have the highest amount of renown in the whole town. And that's when you become the leader of that one. Next up, we have economic. For the economic node, it's pretty easy to become the leader. All you have to do is have the most amount of money. So let's not talk about specific ways on how you can get some money, but you can borrow things from friends. Maybe you know some people in the game, or you just farmed up a whole lot. And you come across a really good way to make money. You could then become the ruler of the economic node. The economic node also focuses on trade and merchants. So normally in the other nodes, you won't have as many small businesses or maybe even large businesses. So in this one, there's actually going to be a market area for you to set up little huts, make it to where you're selling things daily, or you can even own an actual house in there, not so much a little storefront or a little hut for selling things. You could actually own a building in there and turn that into your store as well. Next up, we have the military node. For this one, it's going to be focused on combat and class training. And this is pretty much like the guards, more so than the other ones. This one is actually a pretty cool way on how to become the leader of this. So Ashes of Creation has a thing called Apocalypse, and it's essentially their battle royale, right? It's 100-man battle royale, or however many there are. So for this specifically, the military node everyone will play as roughly the same character, and you're going to go inside this, essentially a battle royale, and the last person alive is the one that becomes the new leader. It's the only one of the nodes to where you don't have to have money, you don't have to do quest, you don't got to do any of that stuff, or be voted in. You just have to kill everyone. Yeah, just kill everyone. And it's going to be even worse for the other kings, or the previous rulers, because now they're going to have so many more people that are after them, right? Because it's just like, we don't want this dude to be king anymore. But you can also see it as the king could have a lot of people on his side. So his left-hand man, his right-hand man, some of the king's guards are also going to be on his team. So then it's just like, all right, let's give him the spot again. For the last node is scientific. This is the node that will make the most amount of sense for like real life, because for this one, in order to be the ruler, you have to be voted in. So it's pretty democratic when it comes to this. And the scientific node tends to pay a bit more attention to artisans and construction. So building up towns, building a lot of crafting things. So, one big thing the scientific node has that the other ones don't is teleportation. So if there's a scientific node in the southwest quadrant, right? And then there's one all the way up in the north. You can be in the one all the way in the southwest, get teleported to the one up at the north, because that's how these ones work, all right? You can learn the science behind teleportation and actually get sent from one place to another. As long as it's I believe as long as it's a metropolis scientific node as well. So those are the 4 different types. If we're looking at the past MMOs, we haven't seen too much of this in terms of the different kind of main towns. It's more static. So let's talk about WoW, for example. You have Stormwind, which is way more castle-like. So then for this one, it could be you have a node on a plane and your main race building it are humans. So it's going to look a bit more of that medieval style. And we then go back to what's the Ironforge. Then we talk about Ironforge. And that one's more driven by the dwarves and gnomes. So, and it's in a mountain. So if you're playing as the dwarf characters and you start building things in the mountains, it could look a lot more like that.